Agent Marty signing in.
With Quinton.
And Heather.
So today we're debating Linux Mint
Versus Windows 10.
So the first point is cost. So the cost for Linux Mint is $0.00.
So we ranked it a 10 out of 10.
Because you don't get much better than free.
Windows 10, it's a fee of $120, but paying that $120 is going to make you value your system that much more.
$120 is not bad for a price at all.
That's only 12 hours of mowing lawns.
But you do have to take into account that when Microsoft makes a new edition of Windows 10 or makes a new copy of the product, it's not costing them maybe the cost of the cardboard for the box, and that's about it. So they're not really costing them much, so the $120 in my books is a little pricey.
So we rank that a 4.5 out of 10.
So the next point is the install. So for Linux Mint, it took half an hour to download, create a bootable USB, and install it.
So we ranked it an 8 out of 10.
For Windows 10, it's a 6 to 12 hour basic installation. As far as we've seen, you guys maybe have it go a lot faster for you, but for us out here in the country, it's been a lengthy process here.
So we ranked that a 3 out of 10. Now, number 3 is the reinstall. For Linux Mint, it is really easy to reinstall Linux Mint. 15 minutes to an hour. We haven't really had it even go up to an hour trying to reinstall it.
Yeah, to get it reinstalled and back to your preferences, what you had before, 15 minutes to an hour, and you're back up and running. So that's why we gave it 10, because it's really fast.
Now, with Windows 10, resetting the system takes 6 to 12 hours. Once again, you might not want to do this during the day when you might be wanting to work on this. You probably want to do this at night, just before going to bed. And then in the morning, it might be done.
One time, when I reinstalled Windows 10 back to factory, when it came back, voila, this was what keeps happening. My start menu keeps disabling, and I keep fixing with PowerShell, and whatever I do, it just keeps disabling. Programs that come pre-installed, you get the Office writers, you get the Office that has PowerPoints, all that greatness, for free. You don't have to install anything, it's all there.
You might have troubles with VLC Media Player, but the great thing is that Linux Mint gives you 2 options for media players. So if one doesn't work, then you have a second option.
So with Windows 10, they don't install the full packages on you, which is really nice. It doesn't take up as much room on your computer.
So we ranked that as a 0.5.
Because, for example, they had Office in there, but it's not actually Office with all the stuff you need to be productive. It's just the installer to Office that you have to buy.
Well, that's not entirely true. You get a free trial if you sign in with your Microsoft account. I'm not sure how long it is. I think it's 30 days or something.
I know,
it's good stuff.
But then once you finally get used to it, then you're stuck having to buy it or something from the store, which kind of sucks. Whereas with Linux Mint, it's free.
So the most annoying thing about the pre-installed programs is that whether you want to or not, you're forced to get Candy Crush Soda Sager, right?
With Windows.
But then, what it doesn't include is the Microsoft C++ redistributable package, which is basically an internal component to make your Windows programs run good.
Okay, that may be true, but Candy Crush Soda Saga isn't that bad of a game. Once you get playing it, it's not too bad. 5 minutes of enjoyment there, I'd say, before... Yeah. As I was saying, it's not that bad. Besides, you get other trials, like the Minecraft demo. Lots of fun. Hours of enjoyment.
So the next point is security for Linux Mint. Anyways, it is a very, very secure system. I have not actually had any viruses or bugs with it. But we have only been using it for the past week, so we can't really say too much for that.
So if any of you guys have had any viruses or anything with Linux, let us know.
My question is it even possible to get a virus with Linux?
Well,
because it's pretty
with
secure.
the security, you're entering your password every 5 minutes. You want to install something, entering your password. You want to go into the system stuff, entering your password. Whereas with Windows, you don't have to enter your password. You just go where you want. Matter of fact, you don't have to enter a password when you start up.
Which is exactly why WannaCry was such a smashing success.
Quiet.
So the reason we gave a 9.5 and not a 10 is because the kernel is open source. So that means you could find exploits inside it and then use that to your advantage if you were, say, some malicious hacker. But I've not personally had a virus with it.
But as you can tell, the kernel's open source. Anyone that's really determined to hack a Linux could go surfing through the open source stuff and try and reverse engineer it, Lots of fun. Hours of enjoyment.
But with Linux, there's no spyware. Okay? Think about that. No spyware. You don't have Microsoft
Cortana's
breathing over your shoulder, you know?
Alright, so for Windows 10 security, it downloads viruses. Who wrote this?
Me.
Okay, anyways. Alright, okay, as true as it may be, okay, and the spyware, okay, we gotta give that point there too. There is spyware, but Cortana surfs the web for you. You just tell Cortana, I want a cookie recipe. Cortana says, yes sir. Goes gets it if you're connected to the internet.
So basically with the Windows 10 security that is crap. Because I just reinstalled Windows 10 because of different glitches trying to fix. And then I was just programming, doing whatever it is I do, just programming away. And then all of a sudden I'm like, well, why is my internet really slow? So I take a look at the app installer, and there the app installer is downloading, without my consent, without me even knowing, a little known antivirus called ByteFence. So I'm like, okay, well if it's antivirus, I guess it should help me. A few seconds later, a little message pops up from the Windows Defender saying, you have a virus, ByteFence has been found, and it is a virus. So Microsoft basically just forced downloaded, without my knowing, a virus, and then it found it. The fact that forced downloads a virus gives it an automatic fail, because you shouldn't. You should be free to get your own viruses.
Should be free to download your own viruses.
Marty, the great thing about it is that you don't have to go searching for viruses anymore in suspicious websites. You get them free now. No time spent, you know?
It's like, little Jimmy, what were you doing on the internet? Nothing, pa. Then, are you sure? Let's take a look. No internet history whatsoever.
So the fact that Windows 10 would force download a virus without my consent onto my own machine with the app installer, it gives it an automatic fail.
Another thing with Windows 10 security that sucks is the spyware on there. Like, you don't really have anything personal on there. You can't have it, because otherwise you don't know, like, all the telemetry that's going back and forth between Microsoft. You don't know what's being sent to there, so you don't know if your personal documents are safe anymore.
And because Cortana is constantly going, and Cortana constantly knows all of your personal life onto the computer, that just means that all your data is not secure, and then Microsoft is going to be having their first dibs on it.
But, you know, Cortana can be helpful. If you fully initiate Cortana, you can use Cortana to search things on the web for you, to have a friendly little conversation, and to find files on your computer. It's like a super advanced file explorer.
So all in all, 0 out of 10 for security for Windows 10.
It is an automatic fail because of downloading viruses.
Although there are some people saying that's the most secure operating system yet, I failed to see that because the WannaCry virus, it still hit it no matter what, even though it's still the most secure system. Alright, and the next point is game. Alright, for gaming on Linux, for the free games, there are 2,000 plus free working games.
Whereas with Windows 10, you do get a lot of free demos. It doesn't. I think the main reason why they chose to put demos instead of full-blown games was because the demos take up less disk space than the full version would.
Or it could be just basically because you get the demo version, say Candy Crush Soda Sega pays Microsoft, then they put the demo version, and then you buy Candy Crush Soda Sega. That's basically the way the demo versions work. And for free games on Windows, there's not really much out there, unless you can barely play Solitaire now.
Well, yeah. There's the store. You could try that out.
So for online gaming, we don't actually play much multiplayer game. I've never actually played multiplayer in my life. So we couldn't really say...
Tanky Online.
We would get... Yeah, we did do that. But we'd probably give it a 6 because you do get a lot less quality. And we gave Microsoft Windows 10 a 6 as well because it is going to take your internet, because the Cortana is constantly sending your data to the cloud, which constantly takes up your internet.
In a recent test conducted by Ermin Studios, I studied how much data was being sent up just by opening up the start menu, and you're sending up a lot more than you would think.
How much?
It was like 200 and some megabytes,
which is quite a bit. So that's going to be taking it out of your
per second. So it's just the speed that was sending it up.
Which, if you're in the country at least, you couldn't really play multiplayer much on that because that would just take too much of your internet for you to actually play the game playably.
So with old CD games with Linux, we found that
we've been able to get some of the old games to work.
But it's about as much as with Microsoft's Windows 10. So we give it a 5. One cool feature is that I found that Crusaders, I could get that to work, but not on full screen, just in a smaller screen. Got it working on Linux Mint, but couldn't get it to work on Windows 10 no matter what I tried.
Originally, we had Crusaders working on this Windows 10 here, Martin's here, but after we reinstalled it and after the last updates, all of a sudden it doesn't work anymore. So, it leaves you with a few questions.
As of why? What did the updates really do?
Yeah, so we rank that 5 out of 10.
The Microsoft Fall Creators Update is going to be slimming down the amount of old games you can play on your computer even more because of the anti-cheat system. So you want to make sure to turn that off when doing your gaming, when those updates come, of course.
Well, I don't know. It said that if the anti-cheat system is off, some games won't work.
So more testing is needed.
And last but not least, for quality for the gaming, for Linux at least, is I feel that I'm getting a lot less than I was getting with Windows 10.
Well, on average, you're getting 30 frames per second, so, you know.
You're on Windows 10, man.
I know, but I'm just saying that it's a minus compared to Windows 10. Trying to defend Windows 10 here. Come on, guys. Let's go Windows 10. Yeah. Come on, guys. Anybody with me? Anyone? Alright, so with Linux, with FPSs, your average frame rate is going to be about 30 FPS.
So for the quality of the gaming on Linux, you do get less frame rate and a bit less. You might have to sacrifice resolution a bit on Linux because it's not designed for gaming. It's meant for more for security and a lot of other things beside gaming.
Yeah.
It's actually used in the International Space Station. It's like 70% of those computers, they're running Linux.
So with Windows 10, if you're going to do any AAA gaming, then you're going to want to go with Windows. Like, Windows 10 offers the very best for gaming performance, if you can get the game to work. And if you have a fair amount of RAM and a good graphics card, you're set to go. Where, you know, like, Battlefield 1 runs pretty good. I've heard. Don't actually have it, but apparently it runs pretty good on Windows 10. So,
And tests done, they do show that for that same game with the same specifications on the computer would run lower frame rate on Linux than as with Windows 10. So Windows 10 is more optimized for better gameplay.
even Linux people say if we're going to do gaming, you want to have a Linux machine and a Windows machine.
Hey, but Linux pulls it over to their side because they've got 2,000 plus games that work.
Yeah, but they aren't AAA titles.
Yeah, those are small little games.
Number 7 is Internet.
So with Linux pre-installed, you have Firefox, which is my favorite web browser, and you do get really fast. Like we made the switch from Windows 10 to Linux on a lot of our computers, and we are now getting at least 25% better internet connection speed for upload and download.
Matter of fact, my computer here, after switching to Linux, before I had a really shaky connection. So if another computer was using the internet, I wouldn't be able to connect. It was that nasty. Like
With Windows 10.
with Windows 10, change to Linux, and all the computers can be connected, and I can connect now too.
And you can have only 25% internet working, and it's a stormy day, and the internet will still be almost twice as fast as it was with Microsoft.
Yeah, still enough
Windows
to
10.
play YouTube videos and do web browsing and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we gave it 10 out of 10, because you can't get much better than that. It's really extremely fast, even for our poor internet country connection.
So with Windows 10, you get a whole bunch of customly made
Browsers.
browsers. So, I mean, you've got the classical Internet Explorer. It's been around for eons, and now you've got the new, faster Microsoft Edge. With, yeah. See,
But-
Linux doesn't have a custom internet browser.
But you see, Microsoft Edge is still slower than Linux Firefox because it's sending so much telemetry back and forth that it just is hogging your internet connection. Like,
The telemetry is also what takes up a ton of your internet with Windows 10, because it's constantly sending and receiving data from the cloud, which is going to take out a pretty shaky bandwidth that we get out here in the country. So anyways, we gave it 1 out of 10 because the fact that I would, like, with Quinton's computer, if you would move it a little to the right, you wouldn't be able to connect 50% of the time. You won't be able to connect with Windows 10, and then with Linux, you can connect it all the time. It tells you that Windows 10 sucks for the internet.
Alright, so on to the next one. Updates.
So with Linux Mint, you choose if you want the update. If you're completely happy and satisfied with the Linux Mint you have right now, you don't have to update. But if you want to test out maybe what the next version of Linux Mint looks like, you can enjoy the ability to choose if you do want them or if you don't want the updates.
With Windows 10, we've got updates galore. I mean, we've got updates. They fix viruses and
Okay, you have to be honest though. Quinton, say these honestly. I said you gotta be honest. Don't try and defend Windows 10 too much. You have to be honest too.
So Windows 10 isn't internet hog when it comes to updates. It takes, fastest that we've had is half an hour for an update, which
shocking. It's just surprising. We're just like, what? It did it in half an hour?
And sometimes it does crash the system. The one update that I had, I got that update 90%, like 20 times, and it just wouldn't install. And then I ended up having to reset my system because it was just slowing everything down. And I finally did get the update, but even with my shaky connection, so the little bit of a shaky connection I had, it was trying to install over that. So I got a cord plugged right into our Wi-Fi adapter, then to my PC, and it still wasn't going. Well, once I reset it, then it was good to go. So the other thing is, the updates do come at the worst times.
Like our dad, he was doing banking, and he was right in the middle of banking, and then also it popped up and it's like, hey, you're going to have an update in 5, 4. So he's racing to get out of his banking, and with our poor internet connection, it takes forever. But luckily, that time, the internet was going kind of decent, so he was able to get out of there before any real issues happened.
Not only that, when I was recording, also I'm like, well, why the heck is this encoding overload? And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Microsoft is doing an update in the middle of recording without me even knowing. If I just knew, well, then I'd be like, okay, I can just let it do its thing and just wait to record a bit later.
So the other thing is that I haven't really noticed any improvements with the updates.
Example, this start menu. Updates come, updates go. The start menu stays disabled. I fix it, and it gets disabled again and again and again.
The only thing that I did notice with the updates is that they seriously limited command prompt and PowerShell. First, it was command prompt with the Creators Update, I think it was, when they pretty much brought command prompt to its knees. Now with command prompt, the best you could probably do with it is testing your internet connection, the batch matrix, and
looking cool and impressing your friends.
having that cool hacker look.
So for Windows 10, we gave it a 1 out of 10.
Because the fact that it would update in the middle of banking, that gives an automatic fail right then. Because it should at least ask you when you want your updates. That engine is a beast. So the next point is the kernel. So the kernel is basically underneath the hood, the internal components. It's basically the engine of the car. So the kernel on Linux is a very stable, secure kernel. It is actually used in the International Space Station. 70% of that runs with the Linux kernel. And it's so secure that the Android runs the Linux kernel. And also for many servers, so about 70% of all servers, they also run Linux for the kernel as well.
So we gave ranked that as a 10 out of 10.
Now, with Windows 10, they say that it's a beast of an engine. I mean, it's the very best engine you could ever put in a car.
Which I'm sure is true, but it doesn't really help if your windshield is flying off, your wheels, we don't know what happened to the wheels, and you don't have any mirrors or anything,
Yeah, but look at the engine.
Hear it hum.
I mean, like, this is the engine that has all the chrome plating, and it's humming, purring nicely, and flames are coming out of the exhaust
as you go flying off a cliff because they forgot to add the steering.
They say that the kernel's really good, so we're going to give them that, but it's really hard to say for sure because there's a lot of stuff that's on top of that, like all the rusty stuff on top of the engine,
like the telemetry and crap that's going on. So you wouldn't really be able to experience the speed of the kernel because of all the telemetry, all that stuff that's going on in the background.
My question is, has anyone actually seen, like, besides Microsoft employees, has anyone ever seen the kernel of Windows 10?
If they gave the kernel away,
yeah.
Well, then you could make your own Windows and sell it.
Yeah, Microsoft is
so Microsoft
doesn't
give
their
it to
kernel. They have their special compiler, so they say. It's theirs.
Alright, so next up is the support. So this is basically the programs that say the programmer creates this program. Will he have support for Linux or Windows? So with Linux, Like, for example, with Adobe Premiere, it's a video editor. There's no support for Linux yet for that because Linux is a very much smaller market. It's only 4% of the desktop operating system market. So there's not a lot of software corporations are going to take into account that because it's too small of a market, really.
So we rank that as a 5 out of 10.
There's quite a bit more support for Microsoft products, as about 80% of all PC users are using Windows OSs.
So if a developer was to make a program for a PC, their first priority would probably be Windows because it's the most commonly used desktop operating system.
But now Linux is starting to climb up there. Like, it's jumped from like 3% to 4% now with this new Windows 10 issues.
So all in all, for the support, Windows 10 does get a 10 out of 10 because it's the go-to for creating a program for a PC.
Now next up we have programming.
So for programming, compared to with Linux and Windows 10, I haven't really found too much of a difference, really.
Except that Windows 10, they are spying on you. So you're not sure how much, if they're, are they stealing your stuff or what, you know? If just by opening up the start menu is sending up data to Microsoft, then there is a risk that they might be taking more than what you think. So I would not recommend doing billion-dollar type of things on Windows 10. Like, you're trying to create a new program, I would not do it with Windows 10.
Yeah,
I would use a Linux or either Windows 7. Windows 7 was still a very good OS. User control - usability.
with Linux, with user control, you have full control over your system. If your permission is denied for some odd reason, that's okay. All you have to do is log in as the root user, and boom, you're in. Full access over your whole operating system, the kernel, and everything you want.
So we rank that as a 10 out of 10.
Now, with Windows, you don't really have control. There's that file, what's it called? Windows Apps, I think it is. Is that the one?
Yeah.
Okay, the only way to actually see what's inside of that is you gotta copy that whole folder, put it on your desktop, okay? And then you can access it through there. But even then, that is iffy. Windows does not like you touching their files. So you really don't have much control. The other thing is command prompt. You could do a lot of things through command prompt before the updates, but updates came and they turned command prompt from something beautiful, like they turned it from a Cadillac to a go-kart. That's the difference. And the other thing is the administrator privileges. The administrator account, you just can't get. It's
No, you can. You can get the administrator account, but it doesn't do anything. You get in there as an administrator, and you get the same message. You need permissions from the administrator.
Okay,
You need permissions from this
administrator-
chump, which you never get.
the administrator account that I was referring to is the real administrator account, the one that they don't let you see. Then they did the same thing with PowerShell. I'd say PowerShell is more like a Ferrari, and they turned it down into a Mario Kart. Like,
Example for like the People program on Windows that nobody really cares about. There might be a few people who like that program, but I personally hate it. Now with the new update, now you can't get rid of it because the old command didn't work.
Microsoft does not like you touching their stuff. You start touching their stuff, and they're like, "Fine it, your Ferrari is gone. You
And
get this rusty old rust bucket now."
And that's the whole ploy with Windows 10 is now a service, not a product. So it's not yours. It's like you go to get your car oiled up. You don't own the car oil up service. It's their service that they're giving to you. So it's not ever yours, which is their whole marketing
But the
ploy.
oil is still yours.
But the service is still theirs.
Right.
So we rank that as a 0 out of 10 because
You don't have control. Microsoft has control.
You can't do whatever you want with the system. You start doing whatever you want, and they start slapping your hands. They're like, "Bad kid, bad, back. Get your hands out of the cookie jar."
put your nose on the wall. Next up, we have customization. Linux is very customizable. You can have it pretty much any way you want.
You can make the whole thing look like an old XP if you wanted to. You can customize the start button to your own image, which is really, really awesome because you can make it look like Windows 10 if you really, really wanted to, I suppose. And there's tons of different themes. You have full control to customize every which thing. You can add new sections in the start menu. It is a very beautiful product.
Whereas with Windows 10, you can change the colors.
You can change that color to an
everything.
awesome looking green.
Or
And you can disable or
a
enable
blue.
transparency effects.
Nice.
With Windows 10, you do have some customization. So we gave Linux a 10 out of 10 for its highly customizable settings, and we gave Windows 10 a 1 out of 10.
as it has almost no customization.
Except for the color and a few little dinky little crap options that nobody cares
I mean,
about.
before this, you could kind of go back in time, but this, you're not going back. Well, actually, you can enable tablet mode, so there is some
to the future. An option no one asks for. An option no one uses. An option that just plain sucks.
Right. Okay. Next one.
So the next is glitches and bugs. So Linux Mint does have its own glitches. You might get where you start up, like say you were messing with getting your graphics card to work. Sometimes if you do it wrong, it'll say someone just crashed running in fallback mode. There has been some glitches and a few hiccups here and there. So all in all, we gave it a 7 out of 10 because there are some glitches and it's in no means a perfect system, but it was relatively good.
Whereas with Windows 10, there is a few more glitches, but they're not causing your system to fail completely.
I guess there are workarounds to not using a start menu. When I get it fixed, I guess that's why I have tons of little options down here. So I don't ever need the start menu anymore. So there are little workarounds here and there, I suppose.
And besides, you can open up Task Manager and then run a program from there. So, I mean, they're getting you set up for the future.
But anyways, if the glitches compared with Linux Mint and Windows 10, they're about the same amount of glitches. But the fact that within 2 years, Microsoft with Windows 10 has not fixed a ton of these glitches yet is very disappointing. And the fact that Windows 10, people are getting paid to fix it, whereas with Linux, nobody is really getting paid. So nobody really cares too much about your problem. You just fix it yourself. And there's about the same amount of glitches. That's pretty disappointing for Microsoft. So all in all, a 7 out of 10.
Alright, on to the next one. Mobile devices.
So whether you might not know it or not, the Android is actually using the under-the-hood Linux kernel.
Linux is actually being used with our everyday phones that
And
many people have grown to live, laugh, and love by.
And the Android takes up 80% of the smartphone market share. So 80% of those users are using Linux, whether they know it or not.
And with Windows 10 and 8, specially designed for the tablets and phones and that good stuff.
Which there's about 30% of people who do that. So
But
if you're a diehard Windows 10 fan, I suppose you could do that. So all in all, for using as a mobile device, it works about the same as good with Android or with Windows 10.
So we gave them both 10 out of 10s.
So next up, we have integrity.
The integrity of Linux is not doing anything without your permission because it is your own. I own my own Linux. He owns his Linux. You can do whatever you want, and the Linux Mint guys who created Linux, they're not messing with it at all. So it's honest.
They're very honest about. They say the truth about what's going on with Linux. Most Linux people are very honest about this too. I mean, how much more honest can you get when you say, yeah, just use Linux for your everyday use, and if you want to do gaming or stuff like that, use a Windows machine. You can't get more honest than that.
The integrity and values of Windows 10 as a whole is a 0. They have no integrity anymore.
Well, the main one that is really going global right now is with the Dutch. It really started when Windows 10 started setting all the settings on the computers back to the defaults, which sent not just your basic information to Microsoft, but everything. Everything that you could possibly do on your PC was being sent to Microsoft. So the Dutch got mad about this, and we're going to sue Microsoft. So Microsoft just basically got a bad slap on the hands, and then said they want to do it again. But anyways, this last time, more updates came, and guess what? The Dutch are mad again because all those settings are set back to the defaults again, which are sending all this extra spyware and information to Microsoft. So the Dutch were pretty mad about this. So Microsoft is about to get into another lawsuit here. We'll see what happens there.
So it is also highly deceptive because there's actually Microsoft bots that they go just on around on social media pages and stuff promoting Windows 10 to make it appear to the common user that is some really good thing. So that is very deceptive. They would have a bot doing that.
And Windows 10 changes all your settings. It's not really yours. They try and say that it's meant for everybody, but really, it's just a Windows 10 employee. Before you know it, there'll be a little employee in the back, and you'll be playing your ancient game, like your Rome Total War, and then they'll be like, haven't played that one before, haven't played the original. Well, let's watch this guy. Okay, he's starting to do this. Now, while he's not paying attention, I'm going to hack his computer and start playing for him. Then you'll be playing, and all of a sudden the mouse starts moving across the screen, and you'll be like, what's going on here? So, before you know it, that's what's going to be happening.
And also, Windows 10 connects to the internet without your permission.
So basically what I've done before is I turned the Wi-Fi off right here. So this way it's not forced downloading updates and crap when I boot up, which I don't want. But yet again and again. When I boot it up, it goes Wi-Fi back on, D-Link connected.
So the next thing is the telemetry. They are spying on you, and who knows what they're doing with that data right now. They just say it's just to make the user experience better, but I mean, just by opening up the start menu, that sends 200 plus megabytes per second of internet speed up to the cloud. So what's going on there? I don't know.
And installs programs without your permission, without you even knowing about. When I first set mine back to factory, I'm like, okay, let's take a look at Windows Store. 50 programs all at once are trying to download, hog my internet. For what? For what reason? Without my permission, without me even knowing at least.
At least you got Candy Crush Soda Sega out of that, you know?
It's a plus to every side, I suppose.
So the next thing is Cortana. Cortana has been known to download viruses for people, and I would not trust Cortana. We don't even use Cortana here. But if you are using Cortana, I'd be very careful about it. Cortana does surf the web for you, which, I mean, that is pretty shady stuff there.
So I wouldn't suggest telling Cortana your PIN number or your SIN number either. Not a really good
For
idea.
your bank number, you know?
Say, hey Cortana, log into my bank account for me. Okay. Bling. Translate it into, hey Cortana, send a few of my dollars to Microsoft for free.
So the next thing is the Microsoft OneDrive.
What happens with that is that when people would uninstall the OneDrive and then they'd get an update, then OneDrive would pop right back up even though they weren't using it and they didn't want it either. So that is seriously annoying.
Once again, the classic one that everyone likes to talk about that Microsoft automatically installs for you is Candy Crush.
A lot of what happens is that once you get your updates, and also Candy Crush Soda Sega will be back once again for more entertainment purposes that nobody wants to use.
Now, since my computer isn't connected very well to the internet, I haven't really noticed it coming back too much. But for some people, this is a really big issue, as it just keeps coming back again and again and again. What I'm starting to think here is that the more you try and mess with the system and the more you try and disable it, the more Microsoft is going to take control of your system for you. Before you know it, they'll be saying, so, you want to write a document or do you want to play a game? Let me decide for you. Alright, well, you don't really seem to be that busy, so we're going to play, Minecraft. Now, we're going to get you to enter your credit card number here. We can start making a few purchases, because you honestly don't have time for that. Then help! Get me away from this!
Next thing you know, Terminator's knocking on the door. Terminator walks in, grabs your credit card, and before you know it, Terminator, which is really Microsoft, has a credit card to have your life and their greasy little grubbies. So for the common user, with everything said, Linux Mint gets a score of 8.8 out of 10.
Whereas Windows 10 gets a 3.8 out of 10, just because there's not a whole lot of pluses with Windows 10 over Linux Mint. But
So this is what we think of Windows 10. Of course, you can decide for yourself what you think.
Folks, having a little trouble here. Help! Help, please! I can't! Help! Good, I think I've lost him. Please!
Okay. Good first day.
And please tell us what you think in the comments below.
If you guys think that Linux Mint is great, or if you guys think Windows 10 is great, leave that down in the comment section.
if you like this video, leave a thumbs up, and we'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Hopefully with the next part to my C++ text-based game tutorial. Either that or the C squared equals A squared plus B squared program that I wrote especially for my mathematics, just for the fun of it.
I'll see you next video. Mushroom Marty out.
Quinton out.
And Heather out.